That is precisely why people follow me. I'm going to say a few months ago, I met a very large creator that I just absolutely loved. I loved everything about them. And then when I met them in person, they weren't what they portrayed themselves to be. I don't want to be that. I just want to be me. I just want people to see me exactly like you see me in a phone, a computer, or whatever. I'm not, it's not a character. This is exactly who I am all day, every day. I don't want to be nobody else because I like me. I don't want to change anything.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning into this episode of Mom Talks with Christa. I hope you're having an excellent week so far. I am so excited to share today's episode with you. I just had Ophelia Nichols here today, and her page is full of amazing advice. She's vulnerable about her past, mental health, advice for kids, and so much more. She went viral over a year ago when she stitched another girl's video and giving her helpful advice and tips relating to her from her past. And she is just a light. She spreads her light everywhere, loves to help others, and she's just so encouraging. So I highly recommend after this episode, go check out her page, Shoe Lover 99, and her Tot Talks. I just love talking to her. And of course, stick around the very end for this week's Mom Tales of the Week. This is where we ask different questions on our social media to get your take on motherhood. All right, so without further ado, here's my interview with the amazing Ophelia Nichols. Enjoy. So before we get started, can you just talk a little bit about who you are, and we'll kind of go from there?
Well, I mean, I always say I'm nothing special, but people try to argue with me about that. But I'm married. I'm getting ready to celebrate my 16-year wedding anniversary this month.
Oh,
I've grown children, they're about to be 19, 20, 21, and 24. I started out being a stay-at-home mom many years ago when I was married to my first husband. So when my babies were little, I was at home with them. And then, of course, things changed, and then we got divorced, and then, shared custody. But when I met my second husband today, Derek, 16 years ago, I went out into the work field and, started off little jobs. And then until I finally found a career in the furniture business. And I was in the furniture world for about actually over 15 years until last June. So I pretty much lived like a normal life like everybody else. I haven't did these, amazing things. And no, I just live in sweet home, Mobile, Alabama, in a little town called Wilmer. Totally countrified. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's so country. People ride their horses to the local gas station. I'm not kidding. I'm gonna have to get it on. So I'm deep in the country. I'm with good people, but I'm deep in the country. So, I don't have all these, amazing awards or these grand things that I did with my life. I'm just a normal person. I'm just somebody's mama. I'm somebody's wife, and I'm a good friend. That's about and I love fishing. Okay. I love fishing. Any chance I get to go fishing, I'm going fishing. But other than that, I'm just me, honey. I'm just me.
I love that. But I think that's why so many people are drawn to you, is because you're so authentically you. You're not trying to be somebody else. And it was like when the camera first came on, like I was like, this is exactly who you are online. And I think that's why so many people follow you.
That is precisely why people follow me. You've seen a lot of people that, blow up real big on social media, and they do very well, which is absolutely amazing to see. I love to see other people be successful. Like that's actually one of my favorite things to see. But sometimes people change. That could be one scenario. Another scenario is the person that somebody is on social media could be quite different from what they are in real life. Mm-hmm. I experienced that I'm going to say a few months ago. I met a very large creator that I just absolutely loved. I loved everything about them. And then when I met them in person, they weren't what they portrayed themselves to be. I don't want to be that. I just want to be me. I just want people to see me exactly like you see me in a phone, a computer, or whatever. I'm not, it's not a character. This is exactly who I am all day, every day. I don't want to be nobody else because I like me. I don't want to change anything. So yeah, that is why people are drawn to me. I have I don't think there's anything I ain't told nobody yet. I have told them about my struggles. I have told them about infidelity and physical and mental abuse in my first marriage. I have spoken about my non-relationship with my mother, that I haven't seen or heard from her in 15 years by my choice. I have spoken about every single struggle that I have went through. And the reason I share my stories is because somebody's listening and somebody might be going through that. And if it helps them just a little bit that day, then I'm so glad I shared my story. So yes, people are drawn to me because I am that transparent and I am honest, and I do I talk about normal things that a lot of people don't talk about, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I agree 100%. That's exactly why people come to my social media, is to just get a little bit of normalcy, just like somebody else, you know? And it gives them a form of comfort. Sometimes it makes people feel like home. You know, a lot of people don't have parents, and a lot of people look up to me as like being a mother figure in their life, even though I'm through a screen. And oh yeah, absolutely, most definitely.
Yeah. And I think in a world where, with social media and stuff, like you just said, like, you don't always know who's really behind the screen, and people just want to connect. People want to feel like they're being heard, or like someone's going through something similar. And so I think that's the power behind your videos. Like I said, one of the first videos I saw, like, you do these amazing videos for anyone listening that doesn't know, and you sit down and you have like a real conversation with someone. And when someone's feeling so low or so unheard, sometimes that's all it takes, is just someone looking at them and saying like, hey, it's going to be okay. I'm here.
You know what? The number one comment, and I mean on every video I get, it goes like this: I wish I had someone like you in my life years ago. What that says is that that person didn't have that person that was willing to sit down and listen to them and let them be heard and give them advice and really, really connect. That it's very important for people to feel heard, whatever that may be. Whatever that may be, it's very important for them to be heard. You know, when my children were becoming preteens and teenagers, you know, things change up. They go through things, and things are quite different in middle school and high school than it was in elementary school. You know, they start to see things, experiment things. You know, we have to trust as parents that we've taught them the right way and stuff like that. But, you know, I always checked up on them. I always asked, are you good? Is everything, you know, because people feel a sense of acceptance when somebody hears them, when somebody reaches out to them. So when I knew changes were going to be made in my children's life as they were getting older, that was very important to me. Was I wanted them to know, whatever it was, I'm listening. I'm listening, you know. And I took a lot of that with me. I saw how it made my children more open to come to me about certain things in their life. Still today, and my 24-year-old, he tells me a little too much sometimes, but that's my fault, because I made it such an open door policy in the house, you know, that no question would ever be judged, and no question. That was just it, you know. So yeah, people, it makes them feel good to know that somebody is listening. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that, because I think especially as kids get older into like teens and young adult, they do feel like maybe my parents will judge me for this, or how do I talk to them about this? So I love that you have the open door policy. Yeah, and you're becoming that person for people that don't have that figure in their lives, which is amazing. And so I'm
feeling it, you know, coming from me having a mother that, and I've spoken candidly about this, my mother was terrible. Absolutely horrifying to her 4 children. I had 4 children, you know. And if my 4 children, you know, chose not to speak to me, I think I would be, you know, figuring out what I had done, you know, and I think about that all the time. But my mother would say these terrible things to me, especially when I got into middle school and high school. Unfortunately, I got pregnant at 15, and I chose to have my son. And he was born about 30 weeks. He's very premature, but I was 16 when he was born. And my mother would tell me that I would never be anything because I was a high school dropout and because I was a teen mom. And it really is not a rare occasion right now with parents. There are people on my social media right now messaging me on my website, on everywhere, to asking me how can I ignore this? My mother said this to me, my dad said this to me. It's so not rare. It is a normal thing for these parents to still be kicking it like this and spewing out this hate. My first bully was my mother. I'm being very honest, was my mother. So I use a lot of my social media to kind of be that other type of parent for somebody else. It just, I don't know. There's a lot of things that people go through behind closed doors, and they're going through it alone. And they use social media to find a way to escape in a whole nother world that they so wish they lived in. And if I have the ability to make it a safe place for someone, dang it, I'm going to do it. Yeah, that's just how I see it. I don't want to see it any other way. That's what I'm going to use it for.
I love that. And so I was going to ask, do you think because of how your childhood was, your relationship with your mom, is that what kind of encouraged you, or what made you be the way you are and give you those words to say to people?
It's funny you asked that because I joined TikTok a year and a half ago. That short amount of time, a year and a half ago. And that account has grown from no followers to 5.1 million in a year and a half. When I first started it, I'd make little small TikToks about the dogs or something like that. But as I was learning how TikTok worked, the main thing that I seen on the app was people suffering. Someone was losing a house due to COVID. Somebody lost their job. Someone was going through a loss of a child. It was endless. It was also during the election time, which made everybody crazy. So this video pops up, and it's of a young girl about 17, 18. And the video was about her buying this new dress from the store. And all she wanted to do was show her mom how good the dress looked on her. And it looked beautiful. It looked beautiful on her. But the reaction she got from her mother was a complete opposite. It was things like, you're too big for that. That doesn't look right for your body. You don't have the body type to wear. That was all it took. I immediately learned how to stitch a video in about 5 minutes. I didn't know, I never did it before. I didn't know anything about it, but I learned it right then. And I stitched the video, and I don't remember word from word, but it went like this. I said, I used to have a mama like that too, honey. But the older I got, the more I realized that I quit listening to her. And then I said, you look lovely in your dress. I uploaded the video. I went and sat down at my desk, and for the first time, I understood what something going viral meant. Because within 30 minutes, it was almost at 1 million views. And when I seen the comments, I said, that's it. I can help people feel better about themselves. That's what this account will now be used from now on out. And it did, because what I do on social media is what I've always did with strangers, with friends, with family, I have so many stories, so many, but the app and social media is allowing me to get a bigger audience and to help more people at one time than just this person. So it was that video that I understood what she was going through, because I had a mama like that too. And I just stitched it, and that's how the account took off. So absolutely, people relate whenever they're speaking about their stories in their life, if they're actually going through that in that moment, or they have, and they've healed from that trauma, and they've been on this amazing journey of healing. Yes, that's exactly why I am relatable on so many different subjects. Because hell, I've been through some stuff, honey. I
Mhm.
have been through some stuff, but my life is good today, and my life is good today because I fought for it. You know what I mean? I fought for it. That's what I wanted. I love it when people ask me just what you asked me, because I always go back to that original video and how it just, opened up the world, my little world, to everybody. So absolutely. Thank you for asking that, because I love telling that exact story.
Of course. And it's funny when you said that. I remember seeing that video, and I remember it like brought tears to my eyes because the way it was so genuine and it was so authentic and real, and you don't get a lot of that these days. And I feel like that's what it was, is like everyone could feel how authentic you were and how genuine you were in your words. And that's amazing, because I'm sure that like that's exactly what that girl needed to hear.
Oh, it was. And we connected afterwards. I love her today, and she loves me. We're still mutuals on the app, but I had memories of those very same things with my mother. When I got dressed up for my sixth grade dance, and I did my hair, I did my makeup all by myself, because I've always been a girly girl. And I go in the living room to show my mom, okay, this is me. We're getting ready to go to the dance. And I got comments like that from her. So when I seen her video, it was immediately, I got to fix this. I jump in. And that video touched so many people's hearts that it made it to Yahoo News. I mean, they were showing the video. They were, then another news outlet reached out to me and did an interview, and it went around, and it's still going around today, but it really spoke to a lot of people. And I hope that they always remember that, just because somebody says something to you doesn't make it true. A lot of it just comes from pure hate or pure jealousy or just unhappiness within themselves. They really don't mean what they say. And you don't look bad in that dress. She looked absolutely beautiful. I loved it. But again, her and I still chit chat. She was very appreciative, and I was glad that she was receptive to my video, because I just kind of jumped in full force with her, basically I was trying to save her from that mental anguish that I knew was going to stick with her for a minute if somebody didn't come in and kind of flip the script on that and be like, nope, don't listen to that. You are absolutely perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, especially at that age, being so impressionable by the words you hear, and just quickly switch that up.
Oh yeah, I made it because of my own past traumas with my own mother. Oh Lord, I made it a pact to never ever ever say anything to my daughter regarding anything about her appearance. And I know every crow thinks theirs is the blackest. I know my baby is absolutely beautiful, but I have never spoken negatively regarding anything about her. I let her be exactly who she wants to be, no matter what her style is, her fashion, her size, whatever that may be. I have always gave her a positive reinforcement on everything. And it certainly worked today, because she is certainly confident and knows that when she leaves the house, she is just perfection in my eyes. And it's helped her gain that confidence, which is really cool, because I didn't have that at her age. I was so far the opposite from that. I didn't have anybody to kind of boost me up and send me in the right direction as far as self-love and self-care and, all of those things that we as women need. So it's so different seeing her today versus seeing myself back then. It's reassurance to me that I know I made the right decision. I know I made the right, and we have two different styles, honey, like two different styles. And no, but on her, it's beautiful. So makes a difference for sure.
Yeah, I love that. And so you're so good at giving advice to other people, and you do your sit downs now. This has turned into when people are having a hard time, they reach out to you. And so how do you, I mean, in some of these situations people come to you with are really difficult. I know I've seen a lot of your videos where you respond to people. How do you know what to say? Or do you kind of just go with the flow and just kind of see what comes out when you respond?
Like, I'm not really an editor. I don't film anything and refilm and no, honest to goodness, I watch that video. I take a moment to really think and feel about where they're coming from. I'm a huge empath. Sometimes it is so bad, I wish I could turn it off, but I can't. That's who I am, and I can't change that. So I take a minute to really think and feel how they must feel. And if there's any connection with what they're going through in that moment versus what I went through in my life at one point in time, I'm going to mend the two together. And I'm just going to say what I'm feeling for them, to them in that moment. That's why when you see those sit down videos, you don't see any pauses in the videos. You don't see any of that. It is a 60-second or 3-minute, whichever one it is. And it's through and full, because I wing it, because I'm really speaking from how I'm feeling for them at that moment, which is another thing that I do like that I do. Because I think it does show that it's more authentic with what I'm trying to say. I don't never research anybody or, go and vet them to make sure they're, good people. None of that. I strictly go by the video that I've just watched, and I move from there. Has it taken me a little longer some of the days, to really get in depth with the feelings about stuff? Yeah, sometimes it has, especially if I'm personally dealing with a lot of things. Sometimes it's so difficult taking on all of this, because you would not imagine the messages and comments. You just wouldn't. And it takes a toll on my own mental health, because I feel for them so deeply, because I'm extremely empathetic. So I have really had to change my account and really do those like Monday through Friday. And then on the weekend, you're going to get more of my comedy, my life, my daily stuff, to give myself a little bit of a mental break. And I've even talked about it on there, and they love that. They're like, I love that, you give us all of you Monday through Friday, and then on the weekend, you're just doing your funny stuff. And I really appreciate the feedback from them, but it is quite difficult. It is very difficult taking on a lot of that pain from other people, but I'm balancing it well. I'm doing a pretty good job. I didn't think I was going to make it through my seasonal depression these holidays, but I got through it. It is the beginning of March. I've got flowers blooming. I feel like my seasonal depression is like kick the bucket by now. I do have to take care of myself too, while I'm trying to take care of other people. And I think I'm doing a good job of it.
Love that. That's definitely, I've totally been there too. Like, I'm very empathetic, and I will feel like other people's like moods and emotions. And so boundaries has been a huge thing for me, but I struggle with it still. It's so hard sometimes.
A lot of people do. I used to, and sometimes I do, depending on what it is, but try to always remember there is absolutely nothing wrong with establishing those healthy boundaries just for you, because at the end of the day, it's for you. So that's what needs to be the most important part right there for people. And I think a lot of people forget that, because they don't want to upset somebody else, or, and that just goes to show how big of a caring heart that they have, because they're not thinking about themselves, they're thinking about somebody else. So it's always good to do that.
I love that. And I thought of this before, but talking about like the way you speak to your daughter, the way you talk about her, for parents listening, maybe they have little ones right now, what advice would you give them? Whether maybe they've said something regretful, or they've had like a argument with their child, or their child's really young right now and they want to bring them up this positive way. What advice would you have to kind of encourage their children and to start off on the right foot?
The two most important things, and I have stood by this for years, is to listen and acknowledge your children. Let's use this for an example. If your 15-year-old daughter, Jessica, comes to you and says, Mom, Dad, Grandpa, what, I'm not feeling like myself lately. I don't really want to get out of bed. I don't want to hang out with friends. Listen and acknowledge that, because obviously your baby is coming to you in a time of need.
Mm.
Okay. And if you say something like, oh, it's in your head, just, go outside or something. No, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's not. So it's very important to listen and acknowledge and notice things. Notice if your sixth grader is in a bad mood. Like there could be a reason for that. They could be getting bullied at school. They could be, stressed out about something. They could be upset because there's a divorce happening. It could be a million things.
Mm-hmm.
So listening and acknowledging and noticing, to me, is always the best thing. You want your babies to see you as a safe place. Okay. To know that they can come to you for anything, no matter what it is. I'm sorry, that's my dryer. I don't mean
You can even hear you good.
It's important. So if they come to you and they don't get that reassurance or that nurturing, then you have now showed them that you are not a safe place for them. Mm-hmm. So what will happen? They will start looking outside of the home for a safe place. And sometimes that's not a good thing. Encouraging. Let me tell you something. My oldest Gibson, my 24-year-old, and my third baby child, my 19-year-old, those two, their love language is to hear me say, I am proud of you. Mm-hmm. I am so proud of all the good you've done. I'm so proud of, you've managed to get through the teenage years without skipping a beat. They are all ears when they hear I'm proud of you. Okay. My daughter, she appreciates it, but her love language is different. So I have 4 children. So all 4 of them are quite different from the other one. Mm-hmm. So what the other one might like to get from me might not be as important with the other one. So I always say it's always important to separate them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. To make sure that everybody gets the needs that they need from mom or dad. Let me tell you something, honey. It's hard giving the equal amount of attention to 4 babies. It's easy with 1, okay? It's easy with 2, actually. But once you have 3 and 4 and 5 babies, it's difficult to make sure that everybody's getting the same amount of love and attention and encouragement. And so listening and acknowledging and noticing will always be my most important thing being a parent. So just pay attention. You just have no idea how important it is to make sure they know that you are the safe place that they should come to. Don't scare that away from them, because you'll regret it one day for sure.
Yeah, that was so beautifully said about being their safe place. Mm-hmm. Or if they don't feel safe or get the response they need at that time, they could find a safe place somewhere else. And you always want to be that home mm-hmm. spot.
Absolutely.
I want to shift gears a little bit. We should come up with the idea for Tot Talks. So I think that's such a cool name, because for anyone that doesn't know, you call your audience and your tater tots, which I think is the most adorable and amazing thing. So how did you come up with it, and what is it?
Okay. So yes, definitely. I called my followers my tater tots, because that's how I had opened up that first original video where I was, talking to the girl with the dress. It's just a Southern term of endearment. It means I love you, I'm thinking of you, I'm listening, or I'm here for you. But when we talked about the podcast, I kind of just threw it in there. I said, well, it's Tot Talks. We're going to be talking about everything that these tater tots are, wanting to hear us talk about. They have questions. They need guidance or advice on something. So we just kind of threw it together. So on the episodes, and I'm not going to lie, it is a hot mess, okay? Because my ADD is terrible, okay? But it really is 3 girlfriends that come from 3 different aspects of life, okay? You've got me, I'm 40, I have 4 children. I'm this really Southern, loving, funny lady. And then you have Lissa, who is this 23-year-old girl who still lives at home with parents, who lives in Canada, who is there for, really talking about finding who you really are at whatever age. 23 is a young age. You might not even know who you are at that time. So she brings that aspect into it. And then there's Rissa, and she's from East Tennessee. She's got 2 boys. She's been married, divorced. And so she plays a big part of that. She's got a good relationship with her kid's dad, and we talk. So the 3 of us kind of add a little bit of everything to the podcast. So we talk about everything, whether it's, what I went through with my eating disorder recovery and my divorce, and what Rissa's going through because she's in school to become a therapist right now. And, how hard it is for Alyssa to be 23 and still be at home. There's so many things that we talk about, but we always take into consideration where a lot of the comments come from and how we can turn that into a specific episode for the podcast. So we just upload every Saturday is a new episode. We upload it at 7 a.m. Central, and it really just sounds like 3 girlfriends on the phone with one another, which makes it really fun.
I love that, bringing that like relatable kind of conversation, but also like advice, and people just crave, I think, that conversation.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's exciting. So I always like to end these interviews with fun thinking questions, I call them. So if you could have a billboard made today where you could share one tip with moms everywhere, what would you have it say?
Be better, not bitter.
I love that.
Not bitter. You can use that through your entire life with anything. And, it's about acceptance. It's about forgiveness. It's about vulnerability. It's about everything. I would rather go through my life and just be better than be bitter about the tough things that I have been through, or that other people have made me go through, or my hardships or struggles. I would just prefer to be better, not bitter. And that is what I would hope it would say.
Yeah, I love that. That's that's so powerful. And I'm going to remember that, because I think it's so easy to get mad about something or hold on to something and have a grudge, but who's that really helping, in the long run? It's not helping you. It's not helping your life, your journey. So I love that.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. I went by it for years. It works. I'm a huge forgiver. I mean, I forgive instantly. But I know that motto is really, it really helped me, especially with my divorce from my children's father years ago. We became best friends afterwards. I became best friends with his new wife. And, all of us chose in that moment to be better instead of bitter. There's a lot of things that I went through that I know that me choosing to go that direction was so much more beneficial for my life. So much more.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And where can everyone find you, follow your content, and all the cool stuff you have?
Well, it's pretty easy. So of course, TikTok is ShoeLover99. And then I do have Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. And you can find me on all 3 of those with my name. And that's Ophelia Nichols. And I post daily on everything. There's a little bit of everything on all the accounts. And, no matter what kind of day you're having, you'll be able to either laugh, cry, or smile at one of my videos.
Yes, I think I've definitely done all 3 of those. Well, it was so great talking to you. And it was such like a nice, I don't know, just way to connect with you. Cause like I said, you are exactly who you are online, and you have such this light to you. And when I first have seen your videos, I just felt this peace, you're amazing. So I just really appreciate you coming on and talking with me.
Thank you. It is my pleasure, my darling. You can have me back anytime. I don't have anything else to do anyway.
I would love that. We'll chit chat when I'm having a rough day.
There you go. I'll be here when you need me.
All right, guys, it's time for Mom Tales of the Week, and we have got some really good ones for you today. So a couple weeks ago, we asked you guys to share your kids' supernatural stories with us. And let me just say, it was a hit. Sometimes we don't know what the response is going to be when we reach out to you guys. Sometimes we don't get a lot of answers. This one, we got a ton, and they were still going. So we decided to do a part 2 because these were so much fun to read and just really cool to hear about. So here we go. Okay, number 1 is Shayla. My father passed away 6 years ago, and ever since my baby girl was born, she looks up and smiles. As of lately, she offers food to the ceiling and says, "Papa, here." Also at bedtime, it seems that she talks to him and says goodbye. She looks right past me. Woo! Chills on that one. That is crazy. That's so cool though. I've heard that before about babies seeing spirits or seeing past lives. You know, it's kind of a cool thing. It's kind of, they say that about like pets and babies because, you know, they can't talk yet. So it's kind of in that middle of before they can talk and maybe forget. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, number 2, Teresa. I swear my daughter visited me in my dreams before she was earthside. She would show me herself in each stage of my pregnancy, which was weird as an afterthought. But in my dream, it felt completely normal. I've heard of this a lot too, where people have dreams of their children before they are born. They not always see their face, but sometimes do, or see their hair. I've actually heard a lot of friends tell me this. But I've also heard that you can dream, and if you see like if you are a woman and you see a younger girl, it could also represent you when you were a child. And so if you are pregnant, you could be thinking about how you were as a child and kind of growing up too. So kind of some cool connections there. Okay, number 3, Celeste. My son and cat always acts like there's someone else in the back room. See what I mean about pets? I used to catch my son in there just laughing and clapping. He would be looking at something that wasn't there. My cat always runs into the room specifically like someone is calling him to do so. Ooh, that's kind of creepy. My son's toys have turned on, stuff has flown off the hangers, and the light in his bedroom has turned off by itself. Okay, that is creepy. I don't know how I would react to that. The weirdest one was when his white noise machine turned on when it was out of batteries. When it was out of batteries. How? Are there backup batteries? Like, I love hearing these stories, but it's so creepy. It's cool, but wow. I would like look into your house and see, did someone live there before you? Or did you have a family member that passed away before your son was born or something, and see if there's more to this story? Because I've heard of stories like that too, where it's like family or if it's like a previous person living in that house. Number 4, Katie. My husband's father died a few years ago, and my grandfather, who basically raised me, died in January. One day, my mom and grandma were watching our daughter, who was asleep in her bouncer. She was totally knocked out and not moving. My grandma said that all of a sudden, they both got colds out of nowhere. They looked over at my daughter, who was still asleep in her bouncer, but noticed she was bouncing ever so slightly. Ooh, I felt that one. I got full-on chills. What did you do? Oh my gosh. Or what did they do? I mean, I don't know if everyone's spiritual out there, but it sounds like they came out when they were just bouncing their granddaughter. Whew, that was a good one. Okay, number 6, Janelle. My stepdaughter, 4 at the time, said I had a baby in my tummy 2 weeks before I found out I was pregnant. Oh, that's so sweet. I've heard of stories like this too, where kids are so in tune to pregnancy. I've heard animals are really in tune to pregnancy, like they might start acting different around you. That's really sweet. That's really sweet. I like that. Number 7, Heather. This was about 10 years ago. My daughter was about 3 years old. One day she was looking out the window of our living room and kept saying, "Uncle Justin." I was kind of ignoring her, but she kept going on, so I finally went to the window and looked. Nothing out there. No vehicles, no people. She kept insisting Uncle Justin was out there, and she even pointed to a spot by a tree near the driveway and said his truck was there, but it wasn't. About an hour later, I get a call from her dad that Uncle Justin passed away. I'm sorry, what? He was battling cystic fibrosis and pneumonia and didn't win. I believe he came to say goodbye. Oh my gosh, because how would a 3-year-old see this before anyone even knew? Wow, I don't even have the words. I have chills. I have tears in my eyes. I totally believe that stuff. I mean, she had no way of knowing, and especially, and even like someone at 3, a little girl at 3 is not going to know like, oh, he's sick. So like they're not going to understand all of that either. So the fact that she was pointing and saying his name, he had to be visiting her. That's, oh, I hope that like kind of helped you guys a little bit with getting closure, knowing like he, you know, made his way to say goodbye and hopefully gave you guys some peace. Number 8, Aubrey. My son was born on my deceased grandfather's birthday. I've always felt that it wasn't a coincidence and that my grandfather is always watching over him. A couple weeks ago, I was in my son's room changing him and got an overwhelming feeling that someone else was in the room. So I turned thinking it was my husband and no one was there. My son was smiling and babbling and focused on something behind me. I never got the sense of being scared, but more of a feeling of calmness and peace. I'd like to think it was my grandfather saying hello. Oh my gosh. I think it all is about how you feel in those moments. Because, you know, they say like there's like the bad spirits, or if you get like a bad feeling, it could be something not right. But the feeling, the thought that you had a feeling come over you, but you felt safe and you felt at peace and your baby was smiling and kind of having baby talk with this thing who is more likely than not your grandfather. That is such a cool story. I want to like keep regularly doing these. It's just such a cool thing to hear, and I hear it happens a lot with like I said, babies and pets. They see different things, and I love it. I love hearing these. So thank you guys for submitting your stories. As a reminder, we post different questions every Friday to our social media to get your take on motherhood. So we have a lot of fun reading these. All right, guys, that's all for this week, and I will see you next week. Hey guys, if you found this or any episode of Mom Talks with Christa helpful, please like, comment, subscribe, and of course, share it with your friends. We release new videos every single Wednesday, and our new podcast is out every single Thursday. So lots of different ways you can catch us. And of course, if you're not following us on our socials, go ahead and follow us there. We've got tons of new content for you every single day. And finally, if you're watching this and doubting yourself, you're doing a great job. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.